what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
Ain't this what they've been waiting for? You ready?
And now, the W with Walls and the crew.
Good morning.
Where winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. On 100.1 FM.
Good morning.
And Facebook Live.
Good morning. Right back like we never left. Another Saturday morning with the W Show, Kansas City, talking sports and pop culture. If this is your first time checking us out, we greatly appreciate you making us a part of your Saturday morning.
Yes,
Q, what's happening, man?
What's popping?
Not much, man. It's just me and you.
We got to hold down the fort.
Yeah, man. How was your week?
Man, my week was good. It was like a chill week this week. This was one of those kind of tweener weeks where it's like in between like spring, summer kind of deal. So I've been kind of chilling, doing a couple of little school dances the last couple weeks. So that's been cool.
Nice.
The end of the year.
So when you do school dances, do they like the newest music? Can you play any old school?
The newest.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
I play old school. So like I think I was at a middle school last year, and it was one of the little boys was like, "Can you play some Michael Jackson?" And I'm like, "All right." Like middle school, they're born in what, the 2010s, the late 2000s.
Yeah.
And so asking for Michael Jackson, like that was a shock.
This was what, 2005 and after.
Yeah. But then like you'll get like the kids that want to hear like Keisha Cole and like it's just it's a few like artists that you could tell their parents listen to that really like instilled it in them. So it's funny, but then they also like the really new, like only on YouTube.
I'm sure the teacher's like, what is that?
Nah, like I'm not playing a lot of that because it's not radio friendly.
Okay.
But when they start spitting out the names, it's like, okay, I've heard of that artist.
Yeah. And I said 2005. I'm tripping. 2015, 2014 area. That's
what I'm saying. Like these kids are like, they know music, but I mean, they have a lot of internet in their hands. So they have an endless library across the world. Like some kids are into like K-pop. So like Korean music, like it's
really?
Yeah,
is that like the anime style stuff or what?
Kinda, but it's more like think of like B2K 2000s R&B kind of like rip off, basically.
Okay,
it's like
funny.
Like boy band, very like boy band heavy. So you'll see a lot of like New Edition influences, but a lot of it is like that B2K era. So it's but it's that they have a world of music right in their pocket. So it's always fun to see like what different areas have different kids. Like up north in North Kansas City, it's a lot of like African and Latin, but then you
makes
get
sense.
Like it's segmented into like Caribbean kids too. So it's good.
Keeps you young.
No, it does. It definitely
been around them
does.
young folks, man.
It does.
We got a lot to talk about today. Talking about being young, the Chiefs added some youngsters.
Yeah.
The NFL draft, we'll dive into the Chiefs' first 2-round picks. A record 275,000 fans. They were in downtown Detroit for the draft. We'll talk about that. And then Reggie Bush, he gets his Heisman Trophy back after 14 years of forfeiting his trophy. I didn't think that was going to happen. And then we'll dive into Tiger Woods. He gets $100 million equity payment from staying loyal to the PGA Tour.
$100 million in equity.
100 M's.
Wow.
We'll get into that plus more with our sneakers of the week coming up in about 30 minutes. Let's get to today's headlines.
And now, here are the biggest sports headlines from this week. We bring them to you every Saturday morning on The W with Walls and the Crew on 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
So the Chiefs make Andy Reid the NFL's highest paid coach and assign President Mark Donovan and General Manager Brett Veach to contract extensions. So the Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid has a new deal. And of course, all of the front office, Brett Veach and Mark Donovan. Mark Donovan's in front of the show. We had him on during Super Bowl week. The Chiefs announced Monday that they have signed all three to contract extensions. First up, let's hear from Coach Andy Reid.
No, listen, I mean, I'm grateful to the Hunts and Clark for wanting myself here, Mark and Brett. So, I would start with that. My wife and I love it here. Family likes it here. So, and it's important that that's done, and now we're moving on and getting everything rolling here. So this is a good start right now.
So the contract extension, it comes after, a few Super Bowl wins, and then you get the talks of maybe Andy Reid's, getting a little long in the tooth, thinking about retiring. That's been the past couple of years. So Andy's come out and said, he's, as long as Chiefs are here, he's here, right? As long as they'll have him, he's going to stay coaching. So is this surprising to you to see him get this contract extension?
Yes and no. Yes, because of the rumors that were swirling around retirement. And I think a lot of that had to do with health. I think it was, 2 seasons ago? He started the season talking about his health and, trying to get back right. But clearly he's feeling better.
Yeah.
And I mean, Super Bowls probably would, heal that. Back-to-back Super Bowls probably would heal that a little bit. So and I think that's my question. Is this a recency bias for Andy? Is he rejuvenated after these Super Bowls? Or do you think this was already like the plan? Like do you, before the back-to-back Super Bowls, did you think Andy was like, maybe I will win one more? And I think you really believed heavy in the theory that the enemy would replace him.
I did. Yeah. I feel like we talk about it all the time, and this is just kind of Andy Reid's MO of him being that quarterback whisperer, being able to lead a young quarterback, show him the ropes, and also has the offensive mind, and that's just word around the league, right? And then he's also a player's coach. So with all those things, I feel like Andy is right where he needs to be, right where the organization wants him to be, because you're going to remember Patrick Mahomes is only 27 years old, 26, 27 years old. So he's still fairly young. And there's still a ton of things for him to learn, even though he's had a lot of success early on in his career. But I feel like there'd be nobody else right now that could lead this team, especially teams have that window, a winning window. I mean, we've seen teams that get it and lose it within a season. More recently, I mean, you could look at the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Right. Like they got it real quick and then lost it. And now they're like, all right, what are we going to do? Their star player retired this past season. And we see teams that never get it. Yeah. We think that they're on the verge. And then it's like, well, they lose. Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. Right. We thought they were on the verge, signed Lamar Jackson to that new deal. And now it's like, all right, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Because it looks like we're still back where we were. So that being said, I feel like Andy is, I can't and to answer your question about him, getting a little rejuvenation, you would think that, you need a little time off to get that rejuvenation, right? He hasn't really had much time off, because you think about it, they go from winning the Super Bowl beginning of February, they have like a week or two maybe But then you get ready for the draft. You got the
combine
combine and the draft, and now you in between that you've got OTAs. Then you get mandatory OTAs. You got rookie mini camp, and then you think of training camp starting, but then the full season. So there's really no time in between there where you can take off and get that sort of, all right, rejuvenation. I'm gonna take a little trip with my wife, then go hang out. And nah, you don't get that.
And you see why coaches like, Bill Self and, coaches that are really at a high level in their career. I mean, why they need those times off. And they have those like health breakdowns because, I mean, you really haven't taken your mind off of the game, off of the task, and winning the next thing. And you could see how coaches would get burnt out. Like we still see footage every year of Andy Reid in the punt pass kick competition when he was a kid. So I mean, just imagine that much football between then and now. And I mean, a lot of people would get burnt out, but Andy is one of those guys that he loves the sport,
right?
And like you said, he's great at development. I mean, he kind of has always been great at development, just not even at the quarterback position. But like you said, just being a player's coach, those kind of coaches last. And I always use Tom Coughlin as a litmus test because Tom Coughlin was the military style coach, the fall in line coach. Whereas you have like your Andy Reids, your Bruce Arians, now your Mike Tomlins, coaches that players actually want to play with,
right?
They want to be in their system. And Andy Reid has he's held that, I mean, that stigma as a coach, like this is a guy that I would like to play for. And I mean, you have your Le'Veon Bells and your couple of like salty people that left his system, but it's warranted at the end of the day. This contract is warranted, and between Mark Donovan and Brett Veach and Andy Reid, they kind of have some synergy there when it comes to like developing players and putting a team together that's going to win. But a lot of that comes from one or two pieces that stay intact.
That's true. That's true. Then you look at the draft. There was a record 275,000 fans that swarmed downtown Detroit to witness the first round. So the NFL announced that more than 275,000 fans showed up to attend Thursday's first round of the draft, smashing the attendance record for the event. The previous record was 200,000+ fans in 2018 in the draft in Nashville.
You remember how many we had last year?
Not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough.
I would think we would have gotten around the 200 range, but
yeah, Kansas City is a different beast. And cities like Kansas City, like I thought Vegas would have had a large number for the draft, Chicago as well. But you think about Detroit, they're a market that's thirsty for success, if that makes sense. I mean, you had the Pistons for a while that were good, early or kind of mid to late 2000s. Then you get the Detroit Red Wings that were pretty good. The Tigers had a little stint, but they're really like on the cusp of being. I mean, they were one game away from making a Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
So they feel like, this is their time. We talk about the window of teams. They're in their window of being good. I mean, you get the coach I remember we talk about it all the time of him talking about what was it, biting people or something,
biting their legs off or ankles off or something.
in his press conference, his welcome press conference. And then you get the team that young guys that don't care about what people think of what they say on social media or say during interviews. And it's the youth. And I feel like the fans of Detroit are thirsty for just that, something good happening for their football team.
I mean, it's the Lions organization. They've been a joke
for
true. Years and years and years. I think the only winless team to ever happen. So they definitely are thirsty for that like football success. But I'm just being from here, and really not ever visiting Detroit. But I wonder what the differences is, like what would push more fans to Detroit versus Kansas City. Even though, I mean, Detroit, you've got Motown. Yeah. It's a lot of rich history, and especially history that's known across the nation, versus Kansas City. So I'm wondering how like Nashville. I wouldn't think Nashville would be a record breaking place.
Yeah.
But then you look at a lot of the vibrant cities that are surrounding Nashville within that, 4 to 5 hour drive. So it makes sense. And I think Detroit is kind of in that. I think where they sit, you have like, the Minneapolis that aren't too far, the Chicagos that aren't too far. So
you got some international too. You got Canada right there.
Canada, definitely.
And I mean, Detroit, and I talked to my cousin yesterday, and kind of leading up to it because I thought about going Peyton baseball. So
yeah.
But I think I asked him, like what's the vibe yesterday, and he's like, man, I'm not going down there. It's like there's way too many people. He said you had to catch a bus to Deerfield, Michigan, and then or Dearborn, one of the two. Then you had to, or you drive to Dearborn, leave your car, catch a bus to like this kind of a rail station, catch the rail down to the draft. Otherwise, you're paying $80 to park, or between $80 and $150 anywhere to park, and that's per day.
Wow.
Yeah, so he said he'll make it down. I think he's going today. But they're excited about it. Like his excitement was who you think we're gonna get, who you think we're gonna need, who you think we need. And then they had an early pick, and they traded up to pick to make their selection. So I feel like Detroit is, like I said, the city that's just like they're thirsty for that successful team and the success that they've had. And it's been building, man.
Because the Pistons did have a couple of runs, now that you say that. So the city is kind of like that championship type of city. Like it's expected. I mean, the Tigers hadn't done much, but I mean, between the Red Wings and because Red Wings have won recently, right? Because they had Ovechkin, right?
Yeah, they won back in, I want to say 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. They won fairly recently in the past. So I mean, the the clock is on for the Tigers and the Lions. But yeah, it is a city that is kind of bred in championships.
Yeah. Let's dive into the Chiefs in the NFL draft. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they filled some much needed holes on their roster as they selected a wide receiver and offensive tackle in their first two selections in this year's draft. So the Chiefs moved up to select wide receiver Xavier Worthy in the first round at pick number 28, and then moved up to in the second round as well to select offensive tackle Kingsley Suamatea at pick 63. What grade would you give this Chiefs early two picks?
I mean, I think that first pick was I won't say it was a reach, because I think the Chiefs have been chasing the ghost of Tyreek Hill. They've been needing that speed guy to stretch the field. But you expect that having a weapon like Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Like if Travis Kelce can take up that mid-range, that 5 to 15 yard window, and then you need a receiver that can stretch the field. I mean, Juju was kind of that, but not really. Juju was good in the, that short to mid-range passing as well. So you need somebody that can stretch the field and be effective. And I think they're hoping for that. And then also they draft, to protect Patrick.
That's true.
Like you need a guy, and it looks like he's coming from BYU. So that's that's a program that flourishes in the Pac-10, so that it's going to be very similar to what the Chiefs already run as an offense. Just him being nimble, and then I mean, grabbing a guy that's Samoan or Hawaiian, whatever he is, like just that kind of bulk. I think the Chiefs need that kind of bulk on the offensive line too. So,
and you think about let's start with Xavier Worthy at pick 28 from Texas. Runs a 4.21 in the 40-yard dash. Just talking to Brett Beach, after the pick, he said this was a guy that was on our draft board. He was asked about, did that shift him, Worthy, on their draft board after he ran the 4.21. He said he had watched the film on Worthy before, and saw his speed, but then when he ran the 4.21, he went back and looked and was like, yeah, because some people can run a 4.2 and it's only in spurts. It's only in spurts, but you could definitely see his 4.21 speed in plays and in his routes. And not only that, but you talk about chasing the ghost of Tyreek Hill. That's kind of Andy Reid's MO of having a speedy wide receiver. And coincidentally, Xavier Worthy, his idol is Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
So, and I got a chance to ask Xavier Worthy about, that being, his idol, favorite player, or what have you, and being selected by Andy Reid, who also selected Deshaun Jackson when he was in Philly. And he was like, man, it makes me feel good that, a coach would look at me as one of his former players. Right. But it's Andy Reid's MO. They need, and Andy was also asked during the draft press conference about, was the receiver core, I guess, one of those specific needs that they earmarked that we need to get in the draft, or wide receiver, was it a need? And I feel like it is, or it was, because you look at last year in the early goings of the season, and what was the number one thing that we talked about? Wide receiver. Getting the ball downfield, the frustrations of Kadarius Toney, the frustrations of Sky Moore, Travis Kelce is, showing his frustration because, people are able to tee off on him, double and triple team.
Yeah.
They're not able to stretch the field. People are not catching passes. Justin Watson gets injured. And he was going to be that speed guy. And then McCole Hardman, he came on. They had to go back and think about going to the end of the season. They had to go back to the Jets and bring McCole Hardman back because they need for speed.
And then he also was having injury issues.
Yeah. And then not only that, but you talk about their $11 million guy in MVS that wasn't coming through early on in the season. So I feel like you need something to add to it. It's going to do nothing but open up things for Travis Kelce and also Rashee Rice.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even the uncertainty in Rashee Rice, how many games is he missing early in the season?
I think 6 to 8.
So, I mean, you look at Xavier Worthy, he's definitely going to have to pick up some slack early.
Yeah.
And how do you think this receiving core looks? Because McColl's coming back, correct?
Yep.
So you have McColl.
Well, we don't know.
So we don't know if McColl is back. So you have Sky Moore. You have Xavier Worthy. And then you have Rashee Rice. Who else is in the room?
You got, like I said, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. You still got Kadarius Toney. You still got Richie James. Travis Kelce. He's still that number one target to me. And then you got Hollywood Brown.
Oh yeah, I forget they signed him.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean that's really a dynamic receiving room, and I think I like that because the tandem between Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, that could be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially again when you look at a Travis Kelce, and I mean, I imagine Xavier Worthy is the deep route. Hollywood Brown is going to be your intermediate.
Well, while Rashee Rice is is suspended. Yes.
I surmise that Rashee Rice takes a big step back.
Ooh. I don't know.
This is a lot. This is a far more competitive wide receiver room right now.
I mean, you can't. Rashee Rice is a different beast, and I say that because he filled the void of the Sammy Watkins, of the who was the guy I'm looking for? Came out of Mizzou, from St. Louis, friend of the show actually. Sheesh. Anyway, fills that void. Jeremy Maclin fills the void of he's a Jeremy Maclin type wide receiver. You don't go from being in 1,000 because he was 16 yards away from getting to 1,000 yards in his rookie season. I don't feel like you take that much of a step back if you take any step back from being 1,000-yard wide receiver in your rookie season.
I think that's my question. Do you think that last year he was just good enough?
Nope. He still got a lot to learn. Okay. He still got a lot to learn because Patrick, you got to remember Patrick, and we see it week in and week out. Patrick, if he don't trust you, he ain't going to you. I mean, we saw that with Kadarius Toney. We saw his frustration on the sideline. Whether he says it, he was frustrated or not, I still feel like he was frustrated. We saw his frustration with MVS, which means he wasn't going to MVS. He wasn't getting the targets that, MVS wasn't getting the targets that he expected.
And that's what I'm saying now. You have a very highly competitive room.
Don't put the cart before the horse with Xavier Word. And I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but Andy Reid's offense is very complex. It's going to take him a while. Yeah. They had to simplify the offense for Rashee Rice.
Yes, but also Rashee Rice comes from SMU versus Texas.
That's true. Two different types of wide receivers, though. You got Hollywood Brown, who, of course, we saw him with Lamar. We saw what he was able to do.
He's able to be a 1 or a 2 in the receiving room. And we saw that last year.
For sure.
But the youth there, and I think that's what it is. I think the addition of Hollywood Brown, we could almost call him a veteran now.
Yeah, he's been in the league 4 years.
4 years. Him being a veteran at this point, I think it adds to his hunger.
And he's on a 1-year deal.
But also Xavier Worthy having a lot to prove. I feel like this is a kid, again, coming from Texas. You go to the University of Texas, your expectation is already here.
Yeah.
The team might not be that good, but you also have these, billion-dollar TV contracts. You play in these very large stadiums in the Big 12. You play the top competition at Texas.
You're a first-round wide receiver.
And you're a first-round wide receiver. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think his expectation for himself is already going to be high.
Yeah.
But I think he's a guy because I think I saw in his interview that he said he had been talking about being with the Chiefs since the beginning of last season.
Yeah.
So again,
kind of spoke it into existence.
So again, I think he's put a lot of pressure on himself to meet that.
But you know what? That's a good problem to have.
No, it's definitely a good problem to have. But then who does that leave out? Because I think on the cusp right now, you have McCole and you also have Rashee Rice that are on the cusp of not being on this team.
Rashee Rice? Nah, I don't think. There's no way you don't bring from what we've seen in the past with this Chiefs organization. We've seen what happened with Tyreek Hill. We saw what happened with Kareem Hunt. We saw things like what happened with Frank Clark. We saw, and I can just go down the list on other players just going in the past, but their organization, Andy Reid's a coach of redemption, where you're able to, show your character of the guy who you are, right? He's talking about showing your personality. Within that, you can also show that you are remorseful of what you've done.
All of that. But then on top of that, you have the weight of your freedom, basically your freedom hanging in the balance. So you have the weight of that on top of still learning the playbook, because again, McCole told us a couple years ago, it takes you about 2 years to get involved in this offense. So that on top of Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy coming in very hungry, 2 dogs, you have the weight of that. So you go from a literal number 2 to now a number 4. Then you miss 6 to 8 games.
There's no way they're going to make Rashee Rice number 4. He's going to be that intermediate threat. We've just seen his talent We've seen his talent this past year of what he's been able to do, yards after the catch. That deep route, we saw. And the thing about what we heard from Andy Reid for Xavier Worthy is he's going to also be a return specialist. He's good in the return game. Mm-hmm. So we remember what you just said about McCole. When you're thrown into that return game and then you're also trying to learn the offense, it's going to take you some time. Mm-hmm. It definitely is going to take you some time. And Andy Reid's been known not to, that you're going to ease the guy in. You're not just going to throw him in there and expect him to succeed, and then he ultimately fails.
I mean, you have no choice when you have a receiver that's down. And I mean, is McCole going to be healthy for the
we don't even know if McCole's going to be here.
And that's what I'm saying. Like you have a lot of things that are up in the air. And if I'm Xavier Worthy, I'm going for that number 1 spot.
Okay. Now looking at this second round pick, offensive tackle Kingsley Suamataia at pick 63, the Chiefs, of course, were able to move up with San Francisco. San Francisco allowed them to move up, which is crazy. Talk about the Buffalo Bills allowing the Chiefs to move up. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you win the Super Bowl, it seems like it's much tougher to get deals done with these other teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw the report where the Buffalo Bills were going to allow the trade of Stephon Diggs to anyone but the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then the Bills go and allow the Chiefs to go get a wide receiver. That's wild to me.
I mean, that's a gamble because, I mean, you know what you have in Stephon Diggs. Mm-hmm. Like, you know exactly what you have. Xavier Worthy, he's still got to prove his worthy.
But they're adding to their arsenal. They allowed them to add to their arsenal. If I'm in the Buffalo Bills front office, no way I'm accepting your call, Brett Veach. If I'm the 49ers, I just lost you in the Super Bowl. There's twice. I'm not accepting your call.
I'd much rather take my chances on you developing a first-round wide receiver than having Stephon Diggs on your roster.
Okay. All right. So offensive tackle, that's definitely a position of need.
Well, and I think that was going to be my question. Do you think they skipped a need either in the first or the second round that they needed to fill?
What was your question?
Do you think they skipped a need that they needed to fill between the first and the second round?
No, you need a wide receiver. You need an offensive tackle. We saw what was happening with the offensive line early on in the season with Donovan Smith. And I would have, and you say this kind of, it's like throwing something out there and then turning away and hoping it hits. But I would have liked my chances with keeping Orlando Brown. I would have liked my chances with that. People would say, "Nah, Orlando Brown."
What does that do to the contract landscape if they keep him versus Chris Jones?
Keep who? The
Orlando Brown, because Orlando Brown was the season before or 2 seasons?
It was 2 seasons before.
So you have him on the
not last season with the
you have his contract. Yeah, I mean you also have Pat and Trav.
But you look at the money that they gave Donovan Smith. They gave him almost equivalent money.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like now the offensive line is, you definitely got to shore that up. I mean, you think about it. Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey are coming up for new deals next year. So, I mean, you got to shore up your offensive line and left tackle. You want to keep your quarterback healthy.
So is this a guy that comes in and plays immediately like a Creed Humphrey? Because Creed Humphrey played from rookies.
Yeah, he did. But I don't know. We're gonna have to see what he looks like in preseason. We're gonna have to see what he looks like. I mean, you think about Patrick Mahomes always on social media, and you can kind of get a feel for, if they made the right decision. And they selected this kid, Kingsley Suamatea, and Patrick Mahomes immediately goes to Twitter and said, "Man, I love Veach." Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's got to be a guy that they feel like they.
And I mean, they've definitely been in conversations. Like you definitely can see like, hey, they may not tell Patrick where they're going defensively, but, offensively, like, what do you think? So he's definitely getting tape and whatever they have. Yeah. I'm sure that packet hit his door too, and I'm sure he was sitting in that recliner.
Yeah, it's iPads now. Yeah, it's all on the
iPad. But no, I think they clue him in on that. I think I would have liked to see them address. I want to say somewhere in the front seven. Like I want to say either linebacker or interior D lineman.
Gotta go get a cornerback, man.
Because they lost Snead as well.
You gotta go get. And that's the thing. You had three huge needs. You had that wide receiver. You got offensive line, and then you got cornerback. Everybody else is kind of plug and play, but those are needs that you need somebody on the other side of Trent McDuffie. So you got to go get a lockdown corner.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I'd want somebody to, and maybe that's Karlaftis, but I think I want somebody that was a 1 and 2 with Chris Jones.
Okay. Any surprises in this year's draft by any team?
I don't think so, because even the controversy around Atlanta,
what do you think about
Penix, that? I love it.
Okay,
wow, I love it. If you're a fan, you don't want your team, and I don't want to. I'm sorry, I don't want to compare Kirk Cousins to Patrick Mahomes. One, for ring's sake. Two, for injury's sake. Like Kirk Cousins.
Friend of the show, Mark Lewis said, "Yep, great pick for ATL."
No, it's a great pick when you look at. We were confused. I think everybody was confused of why you would pay Kirk Cousins on the tail end of his career $100 million guaranteed. So this was a cleanup pick.
Yeah, but you got to pay to play sometimes.
You definitely have to pay to play, but and maybe this wasn't a cleanup pick. Maybe this was their thought process all along. Because I saw somebody mention that this would be a project that's similar to like Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Like you would hope that that at least Kirk Cousins is able to give you 2 solid years.
But I don't feel like Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins have the same personality. I feel like Kirk Cousins would have the same personality more of Alex Smith.
And I'm not saying
I'm talking to show the youngster the ropes.
Yeah, but I'm saying as far as like development, you need a guy that can come in and keep your team solid for 2 years. And that's Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins is almost like Jeff Fisher. Like he's an 8-8 guy. Okay. Like he's probably going to help you.
Minnesota fans would agree.
He's probably going to have you in some sort of playoff contention. He's probably not gonna Nathan Peterman you out of games and throw 5 to 10 interceptions.
Nathan Peterman.
Like, so I see the strategy in wanting to develop Kirk Cousins for a couple of years and then cutting him, trading him, whatever team would take him, because the NFL, there's always a team in dire need of a quarterback,
always
making dumb mistakes.
Get hurt every week.
And especially when it comes to drafting. So yes, you take Penix. Even though Penix he's an older quarterback, he's 24.
Yeah.
He's coming in. So him and Kirk Cousins went to middle school together. But you have a guy that, like, he has a very high ceiling and he can be an electric player. And who better to learn from?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other better quarterbacks to learn from, I think, in the league. But who better to learn from than a guy that can be like 8-8? So if you can reach his potential and then be a step better than him, you're a playoff quarterback every year.
Okay. I mean, I agree. I just feel like Kirk Cousins is more closer to the Alex Smith, where you're going to get him to at least give you something in the all right, well, I'll teach this young fella the ropes, man. You're coming off an injury. And that's another thing. Atlanta is like, all right, you're coming off this injury. How good are you going to be?
That's what I'm saying.
Kirk Cousins is more of that, oh, well, we're going to buy some time. He's the player that's buying them some time to get Penix ready. Right, like he's that guy that's just like, oh, it's my go-to until this guy's ready.
No, definitely, and you could see how. I mean, I can't see how Kirk Cousins would be mad at that because he
wasn't. I don't feel like he's mad.
Well, I think it's going to cause some issues. It'll definitely cause some issues. But that if you are the Atlanta Falcons, you're taking that risk. I mean, you have Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
You have a very electric player.
Yeah.
A guy that can pretty much make the resurgence of what was his name? Jamal Anderson, the Dirty Bird.
Yeah, you're going back to 97, 98.
Well, and that's the heyday that you want from your organization if you're the Atlanta Falcons. So who
Michael
better
Vick
than Bijan Robinson, but then also a Michael Penix.
Yeah.
So they're very solid on offense. And they're very youthful. They would just have to put together a defense that's competitive. But Mark Lewis is saying it's time for Kirk to teach, and it definitely is. But Kirk Cousins is not a teacher of a quarterback. Like there's.
You don't think? I think so.
Kirk Cousins looks at the other quarterback room as competition.
Oh,
and you look at how the relationship was with him and RG3 was like. That wasn't a very good relationship. And then you move over into Minnesota, and Minnesota, like we've never saw him like be this guy to the backup quarterback, and and he has to be that. And I don't think Kirk Cousins has that personality. I think Kirk Cousins' personality is like Cap off of Any Given Sunday.
Oh man!
So it's like, I'm the guy, and it's like, no, you've been 8-8 your whole life.
All right. So Reggie Bush, he gets his Heisman Trophy back after 14 years. So Reggie has his 2005 Heisman Trophy back as the Heisman Trust announced Wednesday the formal reinstatement of the trophy to Bush amid what it calls enormous change in college football landscape.
Love it.
It was time. It was time. And I know you will give me your thoughts on because of what Johnny Manziel said.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to boycott the Heisman. Do you think this had any thing to do with it?
Yes. Because it takes those certain allies speaking up to see the unfair treatment within players. And Johnny Manziel is one to talk because he was bagging up pre-NIL.
Yeah.
He was bagging up. And I haven't seen this documentary. I still need to watch that again. But you need people like that, one that's gonna take up for you and show the bias that's within that, that Heisman process, that NIL process. But also you don't want the reverberation of other players following that. And the NFL saw that when
that's what I said.
They partly saw that with Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. Like once he knelt, a lot of other players felt like they had to He just caught the brunt of the punishment.
They're like, let's get this over with before it snowballs.
No, definitely. And that's the issue with like football as a sport as a whole. Football is too traditional instead of being proactive and kind of making waves like the NBA.
All right, that note, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up, we'll dive into another topic of the NFL, maybe going to 18 games. Plus, we'll have our sneakers of the week during our Hater Love It segment. We'll be right back.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Come spin with us, Kansas City. KC WeSpin 360 is the coolest 360 video spinner experience for events. KC WeSpin 360 is taking it to the next level. The 360 video spinner platform rental will be the life of the party. Everyone will be talking about their 360 video experience while bragging about it on their social media pages. The captivating slow motion and reverse effects will have your guests feeling like celebrities. The KC WeSpin 360 video spinner can capture slow-mo videos, GIFs, and boomerangs from every angle. Specializing in corporate events, weddings, social gatherings, bar bat mitzvahs, school events, and fundraisers, KC WeSpin 360 can be found online at kcwespin360.com. Come spin with us, Kansas City.
Your loved ones matter the most. Take the burden away by pre-planning personal arrangements that fit you and your family perfectly. Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services will be here to comfort your family and take special requests. Plan and feel confident your loved ones will be less stressed and can console each other in their time of need. We will be here when you need us at 816-231-GATE or visit kcgoldengate.com, exchanging your grief for a golden experience.
Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet, mild, and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Remember to use hashtag talk about it. Message us, send us a message on Twitter, or we're calling it X now. It's X us.
It's still Twitter.
It's still Twitter. All right, well, tweet us, and we'll talk about whatever topic you want to talk about. This is something interesting that fans, I guess, will be talking about here coming up in the near future. So Roger Goodell, NFL commissioner, sees an 18-game schedule possibly happening on President's Day weekend for Super Bowl coming in the near future. So appearing on the Pat McAfee show, friend of the show, Pat McAfee, on Friday, Commissioner Roger Goodell said that he sees a future with more international games and an 18-game regular season schedule and a Super Bowl that falls on President's Day weekend so folks can get that Monday off.
So an 18-game schedule means 2 bye weeks, right?
Yep, 2 bye weeks. 2 bye weeks. Roger Goodell talked about him, not loving the preseason, pointless. And then, having an extra bye week put in there, but you get that Monday off for President's Day after Super Bowl, Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But I think that 2 bye week thing is, I think the bigger picture for the NFL is an international team. And I think all of this is to prime it for that, to prime the audiences for that.
Travel.
Travel, but I mean also for the players, yes. Okay. Because some weeks, I think the Chiefs had it where it was like it was a international game, then a Thursday night game, then a Sunday night game. Like it was something crazy like that. And you want to be able to give these players a little more rest. So
I agree. Ex-Michigan coach Juwan Howard returns to the NBA with next assistant job. So Juwan Howard, of course, was fired by Michigan after 5 seasons of coaching his alma mater. No time off for the job market because he was hired right back with the Brooklyn Nets as assistant coach.
I like this. Do you think he goes back to college, or do you think is this his time to try to go for an NBA job?
I mean, he spent a few seasons with the Miami Heat as an assistant. Dibbled and dabbled in college, being Michigan's coach for a few seasons, and now he's back in the league. I feel like he saw his job opportunity as a head coach with his alma mater. I mean, everybody would want that, be able to go back to your old school and coach. And now he's back in the league. So I feel like he's definitely, I'm not speaking for him, but if it were me, I'd want to stay in the league.
But do you think he has an opportunity for a head coaching job? Because I mean, you look at a Darvin Ham.
Yeah. I feel like he could go to the Lakers and coach right now. I mean, because people respect him. People respect former players that have had success in any sport.
But you think he's a better coach than like Darvin Ham?
Yes. At least you got to get the respect of players. We see the tweets and Instagram posts of like LeBron not paying any attention in the huddle. We see like so much back and forth. Yeah, no, I feel like Juwan Howard would be a much better coach. All right, so the Bears request more than $2 billion in public money to fund a $4.6 billion stadium in Chicago. So the Bears have some big plans for the new stadium. They posted some renderings of a new stadium earlier this week. Your thoughts on that, Q?
I mean, I think it's a lot more feasible in a city like Chicago. Chicago has a much better infrastructure than Kansas City ever will have. When you look at the volume of people that they handle, from the Taste of Chicago to sporting events to, I mean, they had the greatest player in the world at one point. So the infrastructure was definitely built around that. But you have politicians and very influential politicians in Illinois and Chicago that are against it. So you might look at another situation like this, but Chicago is one of those cities, they need new facilities.
Yeah, and for perspective, they're asking the city to pay for it, but that works out to about $183 per Illinois resident. If you were in Illinois, would you pay $183 for a new stadium?
I mean, if I was in Illinois, I'd probably be against it, but but being from the outside looking in,
$183 ain't nothing, Q. Come on.
I mean, it ain't nothing to shoot. Look. It ain't nothing to a billionaire either, so he should be able to cover a couple of people's costs. But no, I'd probably be against it if I was from Chicago, though.
All right, we're gonna take another quick break. Coming up, we'll get to our sneakers of the week during our Head of the Love It segment. We'll be right back.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything; it's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Come spin with us, Kansas City. KC WeSpin 360 is the coolest 360 video spinner experience for events. KC WeSpin 360 is taking it to the next level. The 360 video spinner platform rental will be the life of the party. Everyone will be talking about their 360 video experience while bragging about it on their social media pages. The captivating slow motion and reverse effects will have your guests feeling like celebrities. The KC WeSpin 360 video spinner can capture slow-mo videos, GIFs, and boomerangs from every angle. Specializing in corporate events, weddings, social gatherings, bar bat mitzvahs, school events, and fundraisers, KC WeSpin 360 can be found online at kcwespin360.com. Come spin with us, Kansas City.
Your loved ones matter the most. Take the burden away by pre-planning personal arrangements that fit you and your family perfectly. Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services will be here to comfort your family and take special requests. Plan and feel confident your loved ones will be less stressed and can console each other in their time of need. We will be here when you need us at 816-231-GATE or visit kcgoldengate.com, exchanging your grief for a golden experience.
Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet, mild, and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
It's that time for Love It or Hate It.
Hate it.
If we love it, we talk about it. If we hate it, we move on.
All right, first up for our sneakers of the week, we have the Air Jordan 1 High OG Artisanal Reds.
Love them.
Really, you like these?
I love these.
I like these too.
It's the white maroon thing. I mean, it just works, and I'm not even a Kappa.
All right, Air Jordan 1 Low Black Cement Fire Reds. I like these, honestly.
I don't.
You know? Okay.
I don't think I do. The colorway doesn't hit for me.
All right, how about the Nike Dunk Low Veneers? These are fire, honestly. Little pop of color.
And I'm a purple guy. I don't know about these.
All right.
What would you pair with those?
You can wear black. I could see wearing these with like some khaki cargos, or some fatigue, like army fatigue pants.
These are a pass.
No, I mean I could do a lot
fatigues.
with those.
I give you the fatigues with that.
Yeah,
I give you the fatigues with that because you could look like an Omega and do a purple shirt. But nah.
All right. How about the swoosh Nike Air Force 1 Low 404 errors?
If you don't get these Mega Man 8s out of my sight.
These are kind of dope though, man.
They are not.
You can make these look kind of smooth.
Steve, no, they are not. The only place you could no, I'm not even gonna say that. But no, you can't. No. Where would you wear those shoes to?
Anywhere. Like these would be dope. And Mark Lewis said Ninja Turtle shirt. Gotta go with the Ninja Turtle shirt with those Nike Dunk Veneers.
That's funny.
All right. So Caleb Williams, he breaks Caitlin Clark's draft night jersey sales record. So Caleb was, of course, number one in the NFL draft on Thursday night. His merchandise on Fanatics, including jersey and other apparel, set a record for draft night sales value for any other sport. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that was bound to happen. The women's game is still growing. And there's definitely going to be players far bigger than her. So
yeah,
her record will be shattered soon.
Yeah. All right. Mississippi State pitcher throws 95 miles per hour with both arms.
That's hard.
Yeah. Let's see him in action. Hate it or love it.
I love it because I'd like to stand in the box to see, to see a couple of those pitches whiz by me.
All right, Houston Texans unveil 4 new fan-inspired uniforms ahead of the 2024 NFL Draft. Hate it or love it.
I love that. I love that, like Papa Blue, I think it was that they put in there. Yeah, I Houston Texans are all right with me when it comes to design.
Yeah, I like the all reds. Then of course you got like the kind of navy blue, almost black, and then you got the powder bluish. And it goes for their youth, like the youth of their team. We saw kind of, and I go back to like what they did with Denver Nuggets and Carmelo Anthony. Remember when the Denver Nuggets changed to like the powder blue from the old school navy? Yeah. I think you got to do that, man. It helps the appeal of your team. For the youth.
If you know anyone from their marketing department or design team, request their brand guideline book and just slide it into like Mark Donovan. And
Chiefs ain't changing nothing, man.
Look,
it's classic. That classic red.
It's trash. But okay. They need a makeover.
We appreciate everyone who joined in on today's show. Remember, you can catch a rewind of our show on Mondays on 100.1 FM, 1 Kansas City Radio. And next week, don't miss out on the 3rd annual March of the Monarchs presented by Evergy, happening at 12 p.m. Saturday, May 4th. The free community walk celebrates the spirit of opening day for the Kansas City Monarchs. And we'll be there marching along from 22nd in Brooklyn to the site. That's the site of the old municipal stadium. And behind then some 17,000 plus fans, which happened back in the day, they help cheer on the Monarchs.
Yeah, that'll be a nice little event.
It will be. And then friend of the show, Tony Talley, she's the host of Fox Sports Great Day Say KC. She's doing a free girls softball clinic happening next week. So join us there next week, next Saturday, March 4th, or May 4th. Sorry. Yeah. Till next week, we are out of here.
Peace.
The views and opinions expressed on the W Radio Show by the host, co-host, guests, and call-in listeners are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not represent the opinions of the W Show, 100.1 FM, One Kansas City Radio, Sideline Sports Talk, Team Wall Street Foundation, or affiliates.